NASCAR makes its first of 2 annual visits to the Great Plains. Beautiful mile-and-a-half oval outside of Kansas City. Time for NASCAR Cup practice and qualifying from Kansas City. And there it is. That, of course, is the Missouri side, and we'll have Missouri versus Kansas, I'm afraid, all of today and tomorrow. But the last time we saw you, it was coming to the white flag. First, this. William Byron got up into Joey Logano.
A little more than Joey thought needed to be done. Repaid the favor. Into William Byron, getting into 3. Pretty heavy contact off to victory lane and leaving that 24 bunch in misery.
So hi everybody, I'm Mike Joy with Kansas Clint Boyer and Missouri Jamie McMurray. McMissouri's Jamie whatever. Let's break this down. Last week we described it as a bump and run. On Twitter somebody called it a slam and scram. What was it and what are the repercussions and what next?
Well, I don't know that the crime fit the punishment there. I thought William Byron's deal was just racing, Clint. When they got down to turn 3, I think Joey should have given him a lap, maybe raced him for 1 lap. He had a faster car at that point, but he chose to retaliate, and we'll have to live with the repercussions of that.
At the end of the day, bump and run, whatever you want to call it, it was effective. Joey Logano on that 22 bunch put that Ford Mustang in victory lane, but I'm telling you, you called it retaliation. Does it come back? We'll see this weekend.
Well, here we are on a true mile-and-a-half speedway where the speeds are faster than what we saw at Darlington and thus the stakes a little higher. But have we entered an era where winning is so important to get to the playoffs that whatever you got to do becomes fair game?
Well, it is for some of them, that's for sure. You know, the question is, in my opinion, you know, does anybody draw the line there? Is anybody going to not do that, make that move? Is, you know, or are we going to see another bump and run here this weekend at Kansas Speedway? And like I said, I think time will tell.
Yeah, and I think that every situation's been a little bit different. Coda with Ross Chastain and A.J. Allmendinger. A.J. moved him the corner before. I think we fully expected that. What happened last week at Darlington, I didn't think that what William Byron did was that bad, Clint, for Joey to retaliate the way he did. And I was kind of questioning, was he really mad, until he got out of the car and obviously told us his frustration.
Kyle Busch is fastest in the opening minute or 2 of this practice. Larry McReynolds.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know that I've seen this so far this year. Again, a 20-minute practice, 1 set of Goodyear sticker tires. It appears that he and Ben Bayshore, they elected to go ahead and make a practice qualifying run. They ran 1 lap. He brought that 18 car in, and now they make some changes to get it ready to make a race run. Hadn't seen that this year, to my knowledge.
No, for sure haven't seen that. Pretty interesting to say, you know, to be honest with you. You saw him go to the top of the board with a pretty fast lap time, but honestly, if that was a qualifying run, I think maybe he just had something wrong. I don't know if that was a qualifying run or not, because it wasn't a very effective lap. Only ran a 30.78 to an 84, 86, 96. I don't know if that was if it was a qualifying lap, it wasn't a very good one.
Well, let's go down in the 88-degree heat to Jamie Little.
Mike, you guys are talking about the hot tempers at Darlington. Yes, we have ourselves a hot race. And I just talked to the 5 of Kyle Larson. He said, man, I wasn't ready for this. It's hot today. And I asked him, what should we expect from this car on this track? We have not qualified here in a couple years. He said, I have no idea, but I do know we're going to wait a few minutes. So he sat in the pits for a few minutes because that ARCA rubber, the ARCA race just wrapped up. There's that rubber and it's extra slick. But remember, the 5 was starting first in the fall and went to victory lane, Mike.
Thanks, Jamie. Let's look at the weather. 88 degrees, a light breeze, but full sun. And somehow it feels like 94.
And it does. And I think Jamie's spot on with the weather. And I think it's going to have this surface hot and slick, Jamie. This racetrack has always been known.
Just so you know.
And when it gets hot and
slick, turn 1.
Well, see?
Chris Buescher.
There you go. Hot and slick racetrack was, I was getting ready to say, you're going to have to move around, make this track big as you possibly can so you're not pulling on that wheel and get yourself loose in the corner. See what happened to Chris Buescher here.
Right side of your screen.
I don't know. You think he may have got on that seam
Yeah, or maybe even bottomed out right there.
Yeah.
That's where the car is compressed the most on the entry to that corner, and if it did hit that diffuser, it could have gotten out from underneath him right there.
Daniel Suarez was behind Buescher, top of the windshield there. You see it?
They were riding along with Suarez right here. You see that seam right on that lower hash mark. If you get your left side, more importantly your left rear on that thing, it can really upset your car and take you for a ride. But we've seen this every single week on a fast racetrack like this. Any track that has speed, when these things get sideways, it is out from underneath of you faster than you can even lift off the gas.
That was the 7th lap of that run for Chris Buescher. Another look at it. Round it goes and into the wall, and the red flag is out.
They say that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step, but maybe it begins with one single start. Turn, bump, win, and celebration. In NASCAR, that journey starts here. I am the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. I am NASCAR.
Sharing a TV booth, and where's your home track? Clinks is closer, but only by, well, let's see, 45 miles. What's that, 20 minutes,
Well,
the way you drive?
Look, I'm telling you, looking at that picture, the Royals must have had a good season that year because he's got the hat on. He'll jump right on the wagon.
You don't even know where you're from anymore. You claim North Carolina is your home state. It's Joplin, Missouri, Jamie.
I never said North Carolina was my home state. I said it's where I live now.
It's what
Big
you
difference,
claim.
Clint.
You
Come on.
claim literally North Carolina.
Folks, you see what I get all weekend long? Now, this is something pretty cool. Not that Chris Buescher's car is damaged and the left rear is down. He said on the radio he lost the left rear, and that's what caused the spin and the crash. But this is something that we're used to seeing at the quarter and half mile tracks, is they're going to pick this car up hammock style. In some previous weeks, they had hooked up to just one end of the car and drug a lot of expensive parts off the other end, taking it to the garage. But they've had this in the hammock and up in the air. Let's see if they can get it back to the garage that way. So we had some speculation as to whether Kyle Busch was on a qualifying run when he went out very briefly and went right to the top of the board, running just one lap, Jamie Little.
Well, I guess all you need is one lap to know that your car is good or it's terrible. And he said he was 4 numbers tight, just absolutely plowing, didn't want to turn. That could go back to what's on the track and that rubber we talked about from the ARCA series. So they brought it in right away and they took a big swing at it to help adjust that car. So he's waiting his turn when we get going green here, see if they made any movement there. And congratulations to the Busch family. Baby Lennox, little girl, was born this week.
Great news.
Let's dive into that, right?
Yep.
All right, 4 numbers tight. Well, out of 10.
What's our
4
scale?
numbers out of 10. That's what I'm saying. Is it 4 out of 10, or were we dead middle? If we want a perfect race car, 5 out of 10 is a happy medium, right? Does that mean it was a 9 out of 10 tight? That's the hard thing to decipher. And only chemistry between a driver and crew chief can be on the same page of that. Because we hear that, I'm all over the place on my thoughts.
So pushing like a dump truck would be a 9?
That would be
yes,
a
or
phrase
12.
that
I've had a 12 before.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I think judging on the fact that they only ran one lap, we know it was extremely tight, regardless of what the scale was, and that they needed to come in and make an adjustment to that.
Yeah.
So he has run 1 lap. Kevin Harvick ran 1 lap and was talking about driving lines.
Do you happen to see, were they on the bottom at all, Timmy? Yeah, there's a few running the bottom. I mean, the first few laps, then they started running the middle, then going right to the top. Really hasn't been a consistent vibe out there.
So Kevin Harvick, I mean, obviously I was teammates to him for a long time, and probably nobody runs the bottom as good as he does here.
So true.
And, you know, I think that's exactly why he was wanting to know if anybody was making any hay down there. I mean, obviously we know on long runs we've always seen Kansas Speedway, everybody to migrate to the outside. But over the years, man, I'm telling you, there's nobody that can run the bottom as good as a 4-car.
Well, and I talked to Reddick. He did the tire test here back in March, and he told me, he's like, you can run 1 or 2 laps on the bottom. And he said everybody that was here for the test moved to the top immediately. Tyler Reddick went out. I don't know that he even ran 1 lap on the bottom, Clint.
All right, the track is open for practice. Now half the drivers still sitting waiting for their turn in Group B. Jamie.
Chase Briscoe, one of those. He has 1 teammate in this first group, and that's Kevin Harvick. I saw your headset on, but what goes through your mind when you see something like that happen with the 17 early in this practice?
I was asking them if we had what they were running for left rear air, because at Darlington, that was kind of the same thing. Guys were blowing left rear tires. So, yeah, I mean, it makes you a little nervous. I think you're conscious of it, but once you get out there, I think you kind of forget about it. But, yeah, excited to get our rush truck centers forward and see what we got. This is a really fun racetrack where we kind of move around and run around on the fence. So we'll see if we got a good car whenever we get out of practice.
Sometimes a benefit to waiting, watching, and going out in the second group.
Yeah, I got some information from Greg Stucker, one of the lead engineers from Goodyear this week, and he said they have been encouraging teams keep some air pressure to a large degree in that left rear tire. Like here, they recommend 22 PSI. He said what they have learned after 12 races with this next-gen car, the loads on the left rear are just off the chart. He blames it on a couple of things: the independent rear suspension and then the aero balance shift to the rear of this car. And what happens, Mike, he ran 6 laps, but you over-deflected in the first lap or 2, and then it shows up on into a run is when the tire fails.
Good point.
Yeah, and you know, Larry, I talked to some crew chiefs in the garage just a few hours ago, and they're like, it's not as simple as just air pressure, because it has to do with how much camber you want to run. If you want to run more camber, you have to sacrifice a little bit of grip and put some air pressure in that tire.
Here's Denny Hamlin about 3 laps into a run.
I think that what you just said, Jamie, is very important to understand. With this new independent rear suspension, you actually put camber. You have the capabilities of putting camber in not only the front, but the rear. And the more camber you have on that left rear, it doesn't matter how much air pressure you have, you put a lot of force on the corner edge of that construction of the tire as it migrates into the sidewall. And that puts a lot of force on that, breaks the fibers of those tires down, and you can have a failure. So, you know, I think it takes me back to last week, and as soon as I heard you say that, I remember them saying, well, I don't know, same air pressure as they had.
Right, but that's not the whole story.
That's not the full story.
The reality is, the less air you can run in the left rear tire, the more grip it produces.
For the longer amount of time.
Yeah, nobody out here has the recommended amount of air, because it's not mandated, it's just a recommendation. And when you look at those tires going down the straightaway with the load on them, and you see the sidewall, you know, how soft it is, you know they're pretty low on air.
Now another short run for Kevin Harvick, this time only 3 laps at speed. And he's back in.
21, that's the same as the 43 right now.
Some Tyler Reddick audio. He is second fastest. Well, the Childress cars came to play, second and third. Reddick and Austin Dillon.
Well, and they're having such a good year just all together. You think about Austin finishing second at Fontana and Talladega. What I think Reddick's on his 5th second place finish. RCR just in general has been really good with this new car.
Well, it's, you know, moreover this racetrack, you're talking a high horsepower. Everybody knows that they're bringing the big steam with their engine program, and then downforce. A track like this, you have to have max grip in their cars, and that shows, man. I think that's a feather in their hat when you can come to a racetrack like this and have both of those checked off.
You know, guys, I don't see anybody making long runs. I know we had that caution, but the longest run I've seen so far is Chase Elliott. His first time out ran 7 laps. I think that's a product of realistically only our 2nd time to a 1.5-mile track with this car. I know we went to Atlanta, but it's kind of a hybrid. And I just think the temps, I think the grip's really down on this racetrack.
Well, I'm really curious, you know, these short runs, that tells me they're having troubles with their cars. They don't like it. Is it either tight or is it loose? Which one do you think?
Yeah, and I wonder, we just had the ARCA race, right? It's a little bit different rubber. These guys that have to go out in the first session, does that hurt them those first couple of laps with it being a little bit different rubber on the track than what the second group's going to have?
Whether it hurts them or not, you brought up a good point. You just saw Chase Briscoe in an interview with a headset on, listening to these guys and their comments. Having the ability to go out in that second group,
it's going to be an advantage.
Well, it will, you know, you've got the affordability to listen to your teammate, make some adjustments. If we know, like, you know, the instance of the 18 of Kyle Busch, he was extremely tight. Well, if you're his teammate, you know we could back off a couple clicks, free our car up for the second group.
88 degrees and sunny today. It is forecast 72 and cloudy tomorrow. Go figure.
What's that do?
Yeah.
So where do you need to be? Out here in a hot, sunny, slick racetrack, Jamie. Now it's going to be cool and tons of grip in the racetrack. I think you need to make sure that you might be a smidge on the free side when you leave this practice.
Yeah, most likely. But you know, the one thing about this track is it does tend to migrate to the top, whether it's hot or cold out. I think the top is a little more of an advantage with when it's warmer out. But I think tomorrow, cloudy, sun, hot or cold, it's going to be around the top of the track.
And 43, you know, Eric Jones, I'm telling you, these guys have been over-delivering and in a big way. Really liking what I see out of the 43 and Eric Jones in the last few weeks.
The run that Eric Jones had at Fontana kind of set his year. You think about the fact that he was able to lead multiple times in the race, actually had a shot to contend to win that race. He has done such a good job in that car this year.
Austin Dillon, third on the board. We've talked about his season. He has a substitute crew chief this week, James Pohlman, substituting for Justin Alexander, who is out of action under the COVID protocol this week.
Stepping in pretty good shoes. I think Justin Alexander had this hot rod dialed in for him. Austin Dillon, the 3-car, again, right up front. Turn two.
Cody Ware.
That's not something you want to see looking up. Bunch of smoke.
Oh, he did not. TV is all good.
No
but I can tell you
contact, says Steve Barkdahl, the spotter.
Did he hit anything is way better words than "Are you okay?"
Or will it crank?
Will it crank? Yeah.
You know, and there's other things that you want to hear as a crew chief. If he spun all right, did he come down off the apron? Did he knock the diffuser out from underneath of this thing? Can we just put another set of tires on it, get back off in it? A lot of things. The tires are still up. He did a good job there.
Right in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing where we saw, I know Buescher blew a left rear tire, and obviously where Cody spun, that's right where the car compresses the most. So if the diffuser is going to hit or if one of those rub blocks is going to hit, that's the point on the track that the car will get out from underneath you.
Well, let's find out what happened to Chris Buescher's car, Jamie.
Yeah, and he's listed 6th on the board right now. I had 6 laps, actually 5th on the board after that, but hard hit. Do you know exactly what happened and what led to it?
Yeah, we lost the left rear down the front stretch, or I guess corner entry. Started picking a vibration, tried to slow down, didn't get knocked down in time, so it's a pretty big shame for our Castrol GTX Mustang to be sitting on records like that. So we haven't gotten it back to the garage to see how bad it is, but we have the backup behind us, obviously ready, and no, it's going to be a long night. It's unfortunate. It's the first time I've seen the speed chart, and it felt pretty decent. You know, guys did a good job, so a lot of work to do now to get ready, but we got good people. We'll get it turned around. We'll be ready for the race.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, they haven't confirmed backup, but it is out and ready to go for the team.
Tough break for Buescher, who earlier this year scored his first career pole.
So humbling how fast it can go from good to bad. And you know, the only guy that really has the whole story there, it's a little bit of an advantage for Brad Keselowski. He'll be in that second group, so he's going to know the camber that Chris Buescher had. He's going to know exactly what air pressure they had. They'll be able to adjust on that and hopefully not have the same issue in this next practice.
3 of the Gibbs cars are in the A group for practice and qualifying. Here's Martin Truex.
I still just feel like I'm on top of the track. No crazy balance issues. Just trying to get comfortable getting into 3, how far I can push it, and then that bump in 1 I can't. You get the gas early, it upsets the back.
Well, the bump is exactly what you were talking about, getting into 1, Jamie. You know, that can really upset your car. We've all felt that at this racetrack, but you know, that's kind of opposite ends of the spectrum from his teammate. You know, Kyle Busch was really tight with his car. He's talking about being on top of the racetrack loose with his.
Yeah, it makes you think that maybe they started a little bit different, not sure where the simulation needed to go. But you know, Clint, the one thing, we always talk about bumps here. The other story that always happens to this track is wind. And that's the one thing that I've noticed. We're not going to have any wind this weekend. I saw 6 to 7 miles per hour is going to be the most wind we're going to have between today and tomorrow. And that's going to be really nice for all these drivers because that's the one variable that you can't control.
Riding along with Kevin Harvick in the 4 car. Looked pretty neutral to free. From what I saw, you see pretty loose getting into the corner. Had his hands full. turning right almost, way out of the gas when he ran low.
I love this view because Kevin Harvick always has kind of a nervous wheel. There's always a lot of movement. You watch when he goes down the corner, it's almost like he feels the car with the wheel going back and forth. And if you watch someone like Kyle Busch, super smooth. Kyle Larson, like there's no wheel movement. It's just a different driving style. I don't know that one is necessarily better than the other.
Well, you said Kevin's always kind of salt on the wheel, if you will.
Yeah.
Now watch him. You know, we're riding along with Daniel Suarez, and you see a lot more smooth with the wheel.
Looks tighter, like a tighter balance as well.
And I'm hearing that a lot of the guys are fighting tight. You know, you heard Larry mention these guys are running 2 or 3 laps, pulling in. You heard Kyle Busch, man, this thing's way too tight. Honestly, the 19 of Truex is the only one so far that I've heard that was too loose.
Brad Keselowski. Maybe that new sponsor will bring him a little magic this week.
Man, it does me every time I bite into one of them King's Hawaiian rolls. Huh?
They are good.
How about that Thanksgiving time? You can't have a good Thanksgiving dinner without one of them rolls.
That's right.
I think Clint loves everything.
He's a foodie.
Well, I certainly didn't run 10 miles here, Jamie. If I'm going to run, I'm going to run to a King's Hawaiian roll. Got another one around. There's a left rear tire.
Yeah,
Ryan Blaney.
So that was at least his second run.
Well, he got lucky to blow that left rear and be able to get slowed down by the end of the front stretch. He's coming back up the other end of the pit road. Really lucky to feel that.
Yeah, obviously timing's everything. You saw Chris Buescher, it was getting into 3.
Look way on the right of your screen.
There it is. Off the corner, start slowing down, man. Perfect place to, if you're going to have a problem now, he's just got to be careful. Get this thing slow, moving back. Don't drag that diffuser and the undercarriage off this race car.
And if you're at home asking why are we seeing the left rear tires go down, we want to put the lowest air pressure you can in there for the most amount of grip. We saw it last weekend at Darlington because it's a really slick racetrack that's hard to get a hold of. Lots of lap time fall off. Well, Kansas Speedway is really the same thing. There'll be a second and a half, second 3/4 per lap fall off from the start of the run to the end of the run. So these guys are all trying to compensate for that with getting the lowest air pressure they can in those left side tires.
They're going to extend this session by 2 minutes because of the red flags that have happened so far.
Hey, guys, on Blaney, he just had left pit road to start a lap when that happened right there.
So this would have been his 3rd run, correct, Larry? He had 12 laps previously.
That is correct, Mike.
Okay,
3rd
thanks.
run. He just had started it.
Kyle Busch back out, 31:15. His most recent lap, 30:78, his fast lap. That's 175 miles an hour. And Denny Hamlin's slow.
Another, I think I see smoke out of the left rear again, tire down on the left rear. I think what you're seeing is the damage being done already on that low air when they go
100%.
out. And then they come in, do the cycle on their tires. That's a second car. We're going to have some adjustments here. We need to go up.
Yeah, without a doubt, all those guys on pit road that haven't run a lap yet, you almost have to put some air in the tires because you can't afford to
make a camber adjustment. You're going to do something.
Well, you can't adjust the camber now though because you've already been through tech, so you're kind of committed to your left rear camber. But you can add a pound of air.
Start on higher air
and just see what you're going to have.
Again, let's go back to this. You know, Goodyear gives them those parameters, right? They give them that starting point, and you know that's a suggestion.
Yeah,
I mean, leave it up to a bunch of
recommendation, not a mandate.
And you think a bunch of racers are going to go out there with recommendation? No.
Jamie Little?
Denny Hamlin on the radio just said, yeah, I felt it going into 3. I could feel it start to go down. He was fighting tight, edgy too, saying the front end wasn't working. Now 3 of the Gibbs cars are in this session, and they only have one teammate, Christopher Bell, who he's just pulling up next to. He is going to benefit from this. He's gathering all this information. So Denny Hamlin, though, guys, I don't know if they can get through an entire weekend without one issue at least.
Yeah, but getting this adversity out of the way early, again, just like Ryan Blaney, you know, they weren't they were way more fortunate than Chris Buescher was. His blew out getting into 3, spun around and hit the wall.
So Larry Mack, now I'm curious, what does this do for your tire allotment?
Well, again, you're not going to be able to. This is a practice set anyhow. They're done with these, and they're not going to get anything to go back out there and practice. So it really doesn't change anything, Mike.
Okay.
I like what you said, Clint, because I've been saying it for the last 5 or 6 weeks on Race Hub. We talk about all the issues that Denny Hamlin's had. This could be his year because he has speed, he's fast. If you get all that bad luck out of the way, when the playoffs start, if you can get your season turned around, because they do have the speed. He has a car capable of winning multiple races this season.
Austin Dillon third on the board. They're talking tires.
I just think they're over cambered and too aggressive. We're to the safe side on pressure and everything, so I don't expect a problem. And tomorrow will be better. Good deal, yeah. Once it takes forever. Nobody's been up that high at all yet either. Cooler weather helps us on pressure too.
So to that point, have we seen a Chevrolet with the left rear down? I don't think so.
No, but yes, yes, and yes on all things
Right.
that man said. Air pressure, camber, and the track's going to be cooler.
I don't know.
Yes, more rubber on the racetrack.
I don't know if he was telling the truth, but I sure did like as a driver to hear all that. Because
I'm buying what he tells me.
Absolutely, I'm going to buy it.
You got to be a salesman too. Kevin Harvick looking at Kyle Busch going by on the inside.
All clear.
Yeah, but I like what I'm seeing, you know. Kevin Harvick riding along with him here. He's feeling that outside out. He'd let him go on the bottom, but he's migrating up, moving to the outside, trying to figure that line out because he knows come money on the line tomorrow, probably early and even in that first stage, you're going to be on the outside.
Times in this session have slowed a full second from when we began.
This track is as hot and as slick, and there's the caution for the end. This is, without a doubt, the hottest, slickest racetrack we've had this year so far.
88 degrees today, 72 tomorrow. Group A is done with Kyle Busch, Tyler Reddick, Austin Dillon at the top of the board. Group B coming out for their practice session next. Looking it over. The results of Group A. Kyle Busch's Toyota, Chevys for Reddick and Dillon, Hamlin's Toyota, and Buescher's Ford before the crash that set off a wave of flat left rear tires pretty much all the way down the grid, but only, it seems, among the Fords and Toyotas. What will happen in Group B? Well, and first on track, William Byron was a lap and a quarter away from winning at Darlington, ended up 13th after a hard contact from Joey Logano coming to the white flag.
And William Byron was so good in this race last fall, had some loose lug nuts on his last pit stop, but he had the best car, even better than Kyle Larson, who won the race. This has been a really good track for William Byron, and based on the way he's running this year, clearly will be a factor tomorrow.
Joey Logano, meanwhile, is one of two cars that failed inspection here. Had to go through a third time, so they're going to lose a crew member. The other being Justin Haley, and both of them are here in Group B.
So we talked a lot about the line, Clint. I just watched everybody go through turns 1 and 2, and the low line is actually the middle. Nobody's actually going to run the bottom, and it seems like William Byron did run the bottom of 3 and 4. So looks like they're going to run a couple laps on the bottom, and then obviously migrate higher and higher each lap.
Ross Chastain quickest by a 10th. Christopher Bell second. Kurt Busch, and those names in yellow are Group A. The names in white are Group B. On your scoring pylon on the left.
So you can see that big flag there just passing to the right there. The wind is not blowing today. We hit on that a second ago. Not going to be an issue today. And as you watch, as we ride along with Ross Chastain, look at this seam that separates the middle lane to the top lane. That's a really good reference point for a driver when they drive in. I always try to put my left front just above that seam, and I knew that I had a foot or two to the outside of the wall of room to move up off the track. And I think most drivers use that, Clint, as like a reference as well when you're on the top.
Yeah, but riding along with him, it seems to be a little bit tight. You hear him get in the gas, roll out of the throttle here, but immediately right back through it. But you hear him starting to crack the throttle over here on exit. Did it in the same thing in 3 and 4. Tells me he's probably a little tight.
Yeah, the one thing that's been interesting about this new car and how much wider the tires are is that obviously you fight for a little bit of side bite, entry to the middle of the corner, but the drive off at all these places has been really good.
Yeah, so, hey, the Busch brothers on the front row right now, both of them bringing the heat. Both of them are in Toyotas. Kurt Busch running at the top of the board at a 30.75. New paint scheme, that Air Flight, man, got some speed under that car.
I know that the folks at home can't see, but I think you're wearing those shoes today, right?
Man, those are cool, aren't they?
Yeah. Every 12-year-old loves a pair of shoes like that, Clint.
The Gibbs drivers in the A group having a bit of a debrief here. Jamie.
And Kyle Busch was fastest in that first group. So, Kyle, how much emphasis do you put on being fast today for qualifying versus tomorrow for the race when we know it's going to be quite a bit cooler?
Yeah, we're going through a cycle this weekend, a temperature for sure. So just trying to get the balance close for today, you know, and then whatever opportunities we have later to work on it to put it back, let's say, for cooler temperatures tomorrow. But overall, you know, pretty pleased with the M&M's Crunchy Cookie Camry TRD. It's been fast off the truck. Last couple weeks we've had that, which is nice, but old brother Busch had to go out there and outdo us there for the top of the sheet. But you know, was good to have some speed, show some speed, and looking forward to hopefully dialing it in and going out there and qualifying good.
Congratulations on baby girl Lennox. Congratulations on the baby.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. She's doing well at home. Hi, Mama. Hi, Lennox. Hi, Brexton. Good to see you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Hi.
That is indeed great news for the Busch family.
Yeah, but I liked, you know, the teamwork that I saw there with you know, Truex and him. Mind you don't have a lot of time in practice. You're already thinking about qualifying. You're thinking about a lot of things. You're also thinking about the impound procedure. All right, quickly, we got to come up with a plan. You saw he was tight. Truex was loose in that. How can we meet in the middle and come up with a better package for both of us moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And they know what's set up. They know when they came here, did you have a tighter balance? Did you have a freer balance?
Spinner turn 3, Ricky Stenhouse. Well, that's the first one we've had at that end of the racetrack.
See him rolling backwards. Probably had his foot on the clutch.
Yeah, got the right rear pretty hard, guys. Left rear.
He said the right rear.
Oh, he said
Well, I
right
think he
rear.
meant they hit the right rear, like maybe the quarter panel got into the wall a little bit.
Well, let's see.
Pretty high. But I don't. Yeah.
Looks like a
just
left
got
rear.
into the-
Yeah, also to me.
Now, that was the 8th lap of that run for Stenhouse.
Left rear's
Oh
down.
yeah, you can see it.
Yep. Didn't do that splitter any good either. Coming
Well,
up the
and you
bank
know
at
what?
that angle.
That's a product of not having a teammate in that first practice and not really knowing, thinking you're safe, right? Like if you see all these guys have issues, you're like, nah, I think we're good. We're not too stiff on, we're not too much on camber, but I think our air pressure's okay, but obviously a little bit low there.
You know, it shows, and we learned this last week, when that left rear goes down, the rigidness of these race cars. You can see that even before you see the left rear and can get a gauge on that, you see how high the right front is. You're like, holy cow. Really shows me how rigid these cars are running.
Now, that's the first of the Camaros to have this problem. None of them in Group A. It was all Fords and Toyotas. Now Stenhouse.
Well, but to Ricky's point, or excuse me, Jamie's point, you know, standalone team, you know, kind of taking a stab at this through a different standpoint of trying to have that guesstimate and a game plan formulated all on your own.
You don't know.
So Busch brothers Quinella. Oop, camera takes a hit, but Kurt is on top of the board. Kurt Busch top of the board as the Childress drivers talk it over. They were both in Group A.
And both fast, both happy with their race cars.
In fact, they are the fastest Chevrolets, along with Ross Chastain, who is in Group B. Let's join Jamie Little.
I think if you tied a race car driver's hands behind his back, you guys could not communicate about what your car is doing. What were you telling your teammate Tyler then?
Yeah, we just talking about what our cars felt like out there. He felt like his car was pretty good. I was a little free on the bottom, so we're just kind of tightening up. And he's kind of similar comments, really, but that's nice, you know, to work with him and be able to just talk about our cars.
6th top 10 of the season for Austin Dillon a week ago. This team's got a lot of speed, and it looks like it again here at Kansas.
We should have got Jamie to ask him about being Hollywood famous. Got a show coming out.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep.
Christopher Bell, 5th fastest. Toyota's 3 of the top 5. Plus Reddick and Chastain. The fastest Ford is Austin Cindric in 7th.
Toyota's sure brought the speed this weekend at Kansas Speedway.
Last week, Austin Cindric was fastest in practice of the Penske Fords. And doing it again right here. Might have made a little rookie bobble going into turn 3 in qualifying, kept him out of the final round, but he's got speed.
You know, Clint, it is crazy to think that nobody makes a qualifying run anymore. If you think back 4 or 5 years, you'd be like, there's no way I'm gonna go qualify if you don't at least let me have one shot at it, right? And now it's just become a normal thing. Obviously not having practice and qualifying, I think for the last year or so, changed the mindset a little bit. But I talked to some teams, and the interesting part about this car is that it actually seems to be tighter in qualifying trim versus race trim, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't add tape to the front of the car anymore. The way they control that flow is much different, and really the only thing they can do is just the air pressure changes.
I was so impressed with all these drivers, their ability going into this conversation what you just started. They picked up in a big way last weekend, from practice to qualifying, a half a second, some of them over a half a second. Trying to put a gauge on that off of a field, just going through 3 and 4 of what you have, grip level in that car. Super impressed with the ability that those guys showed last weekend in Darlington.
Corey LaJoie had an early exit at Darlington.
Good lap, 60. About a 10 from where we need to be.
I hope he wasn't talking to him in the corner. I would have lost my mind right there if someone talked to me on the entry.
You got to be able to absorb that, though. That was live, Jamie, man. That's what I want to hear. Good lap. Let me get you. So you just need a 10 more? I got that.
I am positive you would have lost your. Don't talk to me. I'm trying to drive.
But I will tell you this. That's good intel, you know, and he's working on that outside line, working on trying to find the grip level and the momentum at this racetrack.
Is that Stoops Trucking on the fender? Longtime open wheel sponsor out here in the Midwest.
You're going to have to give me more than that, Mike.
Yeah,
was
Mike,
that like the 70s, the 80s? Where were we at on that?
Yeah. I said long time. I didn't say yesterday.
That was, look at this, huh? Sure, it's still weird, Jamie, and you've experienced this.
It's so weird to see your
car. Your old car on the racetrack. Your sponsor, Rusty Rush here. Big, obviously, a big weekend for them here at Kansas Speedway. Looking for some speed out of Chase Briscoe. Got him a race win already. Really has impressed me this sophomore season in the 14 car.
It helps a lot when the driver changes for the second time and when the sponsors start to change. It doesn't seem quite so much like your car anymore.
He's 3rd fastest among the Fords today. And here is Cole Custer, 22nd overall. The Stewart-Haas group had the advantage of Harvick running in the A group, but Harvick made a lot of short runs without a lot of speed compared to the competition. Best 10-lap average. Christopher Bell tops the chart for 5 and 10 laps.
Sure has. Best 5, 2, best 10. Very impressed with him, Christopher Bell, and the speed. And not only him, but all of his teammates at Gibbs. The Gibbs boys have showed up this weekend.
Well, if you think back to Vegas, though, Gibbs was pretty good at that mile-and-a-half track. It's really the only other mile-and-a-half track that we've been to. Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch battled it out at the end. We had the caution come out, and obviously Bowman was able to get the win. But they ran well at that track, and we obviously expect for those Toyotas to perform well here based on what we've seen the last few weeks.
Guys, I know this track is different from Darlington, but Jamie, you and I did Race Hub together on Monday at lap 242 at Darlington. 5 of the 6 Toyotas were inside the top 6. The only one that was not was Kyle Busch, who was already out of the race. So to your point, they are starting to come to life, I think. They're starting to catch up.
Yeah, Larry, it's May. It's time. Every time, every season, it's always May. They start to show up. And I'm not saying that they weren't there, right?
No, but they
really find their stride in May. Usually around the Coke 600, in my opinion.
Kurt Busch, with the jump man on the hood, had this to say.
This change might be a little much for track conditions. Plus, we're a little free now, and we got the heat cycle. Yep, pit 4, heat cycle, clean air, and...
Joey Logano goes for a spin.
Left rear tire. Last week's win. Last week's winner, Joey Logano.
And you can see he's made contact with the left rear and the wall.
Yeah, and as we see that down, here's the issue that you have if you want to go back out and practice, is that you've already done the damage to the tire. You can come in and put air in it now, and it's not going to change anything.
You see, once these cars get sideways, especially with that left rear tire, man, it is.
Yeah, you're just along for the ride once that tire goes down.
Expected at both ends. Now, was he running lower on the track than most everybody?
Yeah, and I would rather be against the wall when that tire blows out because it's not near as big of an impact. He did look like he was on the bottom.
All right, Larry, I've seen enough of this. I need you. What can you do on the box right now for a rebound? You see this happening. We talked about air pressure going up. Is that the only thing you can do? We got to get to the bottom of this.
Well, to Jamie's point earlier, Clint, you're kind of locked into your setup. About the only thing you can work with besides air pressure is obviously the adjustments on the shock absorbers. That can certainly help a little bit. Quit locking it down so hard. Just the loads are so high.
Hey, Larry, what do you think, though, about would you be willing to go to the back and change the camera maybe after practice or qualifying just so that you'd have some durability in the race?
Well, if I don't qualify well, after seeing 5 of them, you better believe it. I can't get my tools out there quick enough.
Jamie Little.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. coming off 2 straight top 10 finishes this season, and you too, one of those that got bit. What is that moment like when you see what's happening with these tires and then you're like, it's me?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Patty before we went out, and I was like, hey, how long should we run? Obviously with, the left rear tires that, we're having an issue there in that first practice. And he said, I feel like we're conservative. We added some air pressure, similar to what we ran at Vegas. So we thought we were safe and went out. And I felt like our Dillon's Louisiana Hot Sauce Camaro had some good speed. Just, cut a tire going in, turn 3. Luckily, we were running the top. You saw obviously Logano there hit left side, which is, a ton of damage. We got a lot of damage, but just kind of more in the rear end. So my guys will get us fixed up. Looks like there'll be a lot of us coming from the back, so it should be fun tomorrow.
As you heard him, he doesn't think they have to go to a backup. Look at this, the rear diffuser. It was covered in grass. Nice ride through the infield. They'll definitely be fixing the rear diffuser and hopefully fixing up this right rear quarter panel and bumper area.
Joey Logano becomes the latest to cut down a left rear and find the wall here at Kansas. Crazy 3 weeks for Logano. A horrible Dover, finishing 29th. Pole and a win at Darlington, leading 107 laps. But as Mark Donohue, another Penske driver, famously said, at midnight, the clock turns back to 0. And when it did and we rolled into Kansas, here's Logano in practice trouble. One of many.
And now, I didn't play much football at all, maybe none at all, and I didn't play much baseball, but I'm telling you, this sport of auto racing can take you to the highest of highs and drag you to the lowest of lows faster than any sport I've ever seen in my life.
It is incredible, the highs, the emotions that you have of doing well. Joey Logano's last 3 weeks have been unbelievable.
I mean, he couldn't have been any worse. Literally raced themselves like 3 laps down at Dover, flipped the channel, goes to Darlington, sits on the pole, and
wins the stage.
Just
I know.
crazy. And then now we're on a hook the following week.
The front row boys, McDowell 32nd and rookie Todd Gilliland 34th.
Michael McDowell's been on a little bit of a roll recently.
Hey, been climbing up those top 10s.
Yeah, it's been really good for them.
Quietly, smooth and steady.
56 below the cut line right now.
And marching forward in a hurry. These guys keep making mistakes. We keep seeing things like left rear tires and stuff like that. If he can stay consistent, keep knocking on the door of them top 10s, maybe. Never say never.
Yep.
4 top 10s for McDowell, including 3 of the last 4. Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, fastest in the 2 rounds of practice as we get ready for qualifying. Christopher Bell, fastest on the 5 and 10 lap consecutive runs. Maybe the greatest showman ever on wheels, Evel Knievel. There's your boy.
Let me tell you, travel Kansas. You want to be cool? Another reason to like Kansas over Missouri, going back to this border war. There, right there. Evel Knievel just down the road at Topeka, Kansas. Stay tuned for tomorrow's pre-race. You're going to see a little bit of Evel Knievel action.
All right. Jamie.
Well, we're under caution for Joey Logano smacking the wall there. So we've got Joey. He just was released from the Infield Care Center, and Paul Wolf, his crew chief. So I'll get both your perspectives. First, Joey, you talk about the highs and lows of this sport, winning to now going to a backup car. But how much indication did you have something was wrong?
Not enough. Just as soon as I turned down off into the corner, I could feel it shaking, and I knew it was bad, but and it just swaps in so fast when that left rear blows out. We've seen that happen a few times today, unfortunately. So unfortunately for us, the old Verizon Mustangs have to come from the rear, but we'll be all right, and we'll fight through it, I'm sure. I think we were pretty decent on lap times before that, I believe, on the long haul at least. So if we keep the tires on it, I guess we'll be all right.
All right, thanks, Joey. And Paul, I think everybody's wondering right now, is it an air pressure issue? Is it a setup issue? Or is it just the notes and the way you guys set this car up just kind of leading you astray?
Well, it's just hard to tell. Obviously, we saw a lot of cars have issues in the first practice. I put a little air in it just to favor, trying to be conservative. But obviously, maybe there's something else in the setup. We'll have to look at all that and see if we need to adjust for Sunday. But unfortunate, the guys brought a good car again after last week. But this is the ups and downs of the sport. And, all the guys will work hard today, tonight, whatever we got to do, and be ready for tomorrow.
All right, they haven't seen the car yet, so they're not sure they're going to a backup, but they will assess it here momentarily.
Well, they will definitely be one of 3 drivers who will not qualify. Chris Buescher and Ricky Stenhouse and Joey Logano will not make a qualifying attempt here.
That was great of Jamie to get a perspective from Joey driving it to then, like, what's the solution to try to fix it from Paul?
Well, hey, you don't have to worry about that right now. It's only 1 lap. Go out there and get it the most, and who's going to do that the best? How about the 2 Busch brothers? The Busch boys are on top. Both practice sessions. Is it going to be a battle of the Bushes? Is it going to be a Tyler Reddick? Austin Dillon, the RCR boys showed up with some speed. And then the Gibbs cars. I think, again, looking at the 20-car Christopher Bell, I think it's anybody's game. I really do.
Well, from the practice chart, it looks like Joe Gibbs Racing versus Richard Childress Racing, Toyota versus Chevy.
Yeah, and Chastain, again, Trackhouse is fast, bringing the heat. We kind of expected that. The ones that's kind of caught me off guard, you didn't hear us talk about Hendrick. Where's those guys? And, hey, that time's not done. They can make some adjustments here, some air pressure adjustments, tighten this thing up.
Yeah, Kyle Larson was 6th fastest, but he was the best of the Hendrick cars.
I don't think we want to count Kyle Larson out just yet. The other one is Ryan Blaney. I know he's down a little bit on the sheet. He's been as good at qualifying this year as anybody has. But, Clint, this was maybe like the best lap of all weekend, to be on sticker tires, leave the pits here in turns 1 and 2. And knowing that you're basically run wide open as you enter 3 and 4 around the top.
Well, we know, you just said it, coming to the green, they're going to be wide open on the outside, getting that momentum, getting that speed built up. 5th gear, going to get all the way up to high gear. But where are they going to run in 1 and 2? Where is the optimum grip? We haven't seen very many cars at all run the tippy bottom.
I think we're going to see them run the top, obviously, at 3 and 4 coming to the green. They're going to run the middle of 1 and 2. That seems to be the fastest line when we qualified here in the past. You got that little bit more banking. We have progressive banking at this track. 17 on the bottom, up to 20 degrees on the top. And I think you're going to see guys run just right on that first seam off the bottom.
So Noah Gregson from Las Vegas will be the first driver to qualify.
I think Noah tried to run the bottom there. I think he missed it. Got a little bit tight. And to your point, maybe that middle is the preferred group. It's going to be very interesting to see where these guys go all through the practice. But he's on the bottom in 3 and 4. Shortest way around is always the fastest way around. But as this place ages and as hot as it is today, that might not be the preferred group.
31.45 for Gregson against a 31.75 in practice. So he picks up 0.3.
I would say from the driver's seat, that felt pretty good, knowing that you picked up 0.4. It's not going to be enough today to obviously be on the front row or to get a good lap in there.
Now Josh Bilicki with a very interesting paint job supporting the people of Ukraine in their blue and yellow colors of the Ukrainian flag. A story we've all been following with great interest and much empathy and sympathy for those folks and what they're going through there.
Yeah, good for them for that paint scheme. The whole world's on the side of Ukraine right now, and that's cool to see them supporting that.
Number of team owners, including Richard Childress, Rick Hendrick, and Roger Penske, have raised millions in relief for Ukrainian refugees and, in Richard Childress's case, for the military effort there. Bilicki 32.10. Brad Keselowski.
Got the old Hawaiian roll on a roll here. Got the momentum wound up.
See, I like that line,
that middle line. Yep.
Just watch that little bit higher line. I think you carry more momentum, not have to check up on exit.
Going right down to the bottom. Looks like he missed the bottom a little bit.
Having to play with the throttle a little bit more than he wants to right there.
You can see the angle that he has. Even have to lift at the wall a little bit tight. Center out. Not the lap that he's looking for at all.
Nope, 31.64. That's 7/100 slower than his best practice lap. Cody Ware, of the 18 cars at Group A, he was 14th quickest in practice.
He was
despite a spin.
Yeah, a car that spun in practice. Hard to shake that off. Now you're asking me to go back out there on new tires and make this the fastest lap of the weekend. But these race car drivers are good. You can see the momentum he's carrying up off the corner.
But his fast lap in practice was a pretty good one, 31.39.
Drove it off into the 3. Really hard. Will he pay the price on exit?
Coming back just a bit.
Not near as much as I thought he was going to.
No, from
good
how hard he drove in there was a good exit.
He is second by 1/100th of a second. Jamie.
Mike, Ryan Blaney, one of those drivers that spun today, had that flat left rear. He also did the tire test here a month ago. How different were those conditions where you guys gained that information for this race?
It's kind of confusing. Like I said, we did the tire test, and it was a good bit colder, overcast, and we were running way faster at the tire test just because one was hot out, same air pressure as everything, and we had no problems with the tire test. And now there's a handful of guys that are having issues, so that's probably above my pay grade. I don't know what's different, what's changed, but it's pretty frightening. You know, blowing left rears, you don't know why. So we'll see what they figure out, but I feel like our Wabash Ford Mustang's pretty decent. We'll see what we can get qualified. I don't know where to run yet. If I want to go at the wall or on the bottom, find out pretty quick.
Thanks, Ryan.
That's Ryan Blaney. Bubba Wallace blistered it, 30.82, and that's a huge pickup from practice, which was a 31.10.
See, Kyle Larson chose Clint to run just that little bit higher line, and look at the momentum that the 5 car is going to carry off on exit. I think being just a little bit higher like that, you don't have to slow the car down quite as much.
Well, you saw it in the point, and I call that point from the center, you know, that 3/4 mark in the corner. You can see how his car's pointed down and Bubba Wallace is pointed up, having to lift out of the gas, not be able to lift it wide open. His 5 car, that's a lap, 30.51.
Whoa, that is half a second better than he practiced.
That's a half a second faster, and he ran at a 31.01. We talked about, you said he was 6th fastest in practice. Never count that kid out.
Larry Mack said that Larson was back in the throttle way early in turn 3, earlier than anybody yet.
But his point, you know, it's just so much better. You saw everybody else kind of headed north, and he was pointed down and digging wide open, never even thought about cracking the throttle.
Rookie Harrison Burton 13th in this group in practice. Now the ghost car is the bubble car, which right now is Brad Keselowski. Harrison Burton's going to bump in 31.29 in practice, 30.97, 3/10 pickup. And that shifts Cody Ware onto the bubble. As Eric Jones rolls out in the Petty GMS number 43, 31.06 in practice for Jones.
Been very impressed with him in the last few weeks, about the last month. Really has done a good job behind the wheel, brought the speed, and look at this.
Ooh, look at that lap.
Huge got off at 2 with a lot of momentum and speed.
And Eric Jones, as you watch him, he has driving style. He always makes a late entry into the corner, and that helps him so much get the point like you're talking about. It's like he got a little tight right there on exit. But man, he had a great turns 1 and 2.
30.75 for Jones. He picks up a quarter of a second.
He licked his lips, Clint, 1 and 2. It felt so good, and then ended up overdriving turns 3 and 4 just a little bit.
So here's Kyle Busch. Because he was fastest in this group in practice, we're going to track him versus the ghost car of Kyle Larson, who is quickest right now.
Came to the green just a little bit better. Obviously around the top, got a little bit better run.
Ran right to the bottom. Let's see if he can get the point. If he can keep this thing turned and never have to get out of the gas at the wall, which he did. You don't see that 5 car catching him from that outside momentum.
Oh, fast
comes back up off the wall.
Yeah, Kyle did a really good job getting off of turns 3 and 4.
Still going to get the job done.
30.49.
I think he'll go back and look at that lap after this. Look at the SMT data, see what he can do better. I bet you he'll find some more speed out of that car.
Nine drivers have qualified so far. Kyle Busch is fastest. The 17 of Chris Buescher will not make a qualifying run. Too much damage from hitting the wall on his 7th lap of practice. So Denny Hamlin will be the next car to roll off. Hamlin's best practice lap was 4th in Group A. 30.96 for Hamlin.
You see Hamlin scrubbing his tires back and forth just a little bit, trying to get just a little bit of heat in them, making the track as big as he can. He's obviously going to enter 3 and 4. I believe they can run basically wide open, come into the green, trying to generate as much speed as you can, because there's quite a bit of lap time just from the start finish line to turn 1.
Yeah, and I think you've seen enough cars go. You've made up your mind where to be. That being said, the 5 car ran the middle and was right there at the top of the sheet, but Kyle Busch ran the very bottom, was just barely beating. Where do you run there? I think the 11 car decided to go in the middle. Man.
Well, and it looked to me like Denny tried to get to the bottom, and the car just didn't want to turn, so he elected to run 1 lane higher and just carry a little bit more speed on exit.
He's going to have to find some speed down here in 3 and 4. Ran the middle of the racetrack. I'd say he was a little bit tight, so he elected to change his lineup, and man, it paid dividends. Got through 3 and 4 well. Good adjustment by Denny Hamlin, getting himself in the show so far.
Good lap for Hamlin, 30.70. Jamie?
Great lap for Denny Hamlin, because he told me they have so much damage on that rear diffuser, they're going to have to drop to the rear anyway, but they opted to come out and qualify. Meanwhile, his teammate, I guess, in a way, owns the team, Bubba Wallace. How are the track conditions right now?
Hot, slick, greasy, not ideal. It's really hard to give a direction on our McDonald's Toyota Camry on what to work on, but our biggest time loss is entries into the corner, and just having a stable feel is what we're lacking right now. But qualifying was a little bit different. We were tight there, a little too tight. Scrubbed a lot of speed coming out of 3 and 4, but all in all, we just keep bringing the same speed that we have been these last few weeks. And finish a race, we'll finish well inside the top 10. So our team desperately needs a good finish, so we're going to look to do that tomorrow.
Need a little bit of luck, too.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Thanks, Jamie. Martin Truex fastest so far from Group A. That will bump Bubba Wallace and put Eric Jones on the hot seat.
Sure did. Put their heads together, came up with that magical setup for this qualifying run. Truex, Kyle Busch, the Gibbs guys on top so far.
Austin Dillon chose to run way higher than anybody else. We'll see if he gets any momentum coming off on the exit of the corner. You see, he's gaining ground, but not really as much as he lost having to run that high line.
Not near as much as he was hoping to find. He's going to stay with it. Hey, stick to the plan, going to run the outside. Long ways around there, but you can see the momentum that he's running him down.
He's going to back up what he ran in practice,
right at
which
the line.
was 30.86. And he betters that by 12/100ths. Dillon's in, Jones is out.
You know, I think that might be a good option the next round when the tires have given up a little bit to maybe run that higher line. But right now with the tires, you know, having the grip they do, I think being lower on the track, the difference in the distance is going to make up for that.
I think they're going to go back and look at SMT and probably make an adjustment back, migrating towards the bottom a little bit more. Just a long ways around there for a qualifying lap.
Yeah, you hear Daniel Suarez get really tight right there and had to check up, lost a lot of momentum, but got a pretty good lap going, Clint.
Matt said Dillon was out of the gas early at both ends of the racetracks, but then back into the gas. Good momentum off the corner.
Made an adjustment in 3 and 4, back the corner up just a little bit and barely beat him. It's not going to, Austin Dillon, going back to what you were saying, not going to have the opportunity to go and look at that SMT data and have another shot at the top 10. Going to have to work on that for tomorrow's race.
30-70 for Suarez. That will lock Martin Truex into the final round. And here is Ryan Blaney. Blaney was 7th in Group A practice, 31.04.
Big Art getting into 1. You see the point in his car. That car's pointed down, turning left, enabling him to stay in the throttle, not even thinking about lifting at the wall, carrying a lot of speed and momentum down the backstretch.
Yeah, 3 poles this year. Blaney's been as good at qualifying as anybody has. I'd like to go back to something that Bubba Wallace said a second ago. He talked about that they can't get into the corner. I've heard a lot of drivers complain when they don't have the speed, it's that the car is just not stable enough on entry. And Clint, that's kind of the opposite of what we have had in the past, where you always wanted to back the entry up. Seems like now you got to be able to be a little bit more aggressive.
So Blaney is 4th. That knocks out Suarez and moves Hamlin onto the bubble, and that locks Kyle Busch into the final round. Here's Kevin Harvick.
In one of his best racetracks, but I think he needs to start up front. If he's going to run with these boys and flex some muscle on them this weekend at Kansas Speedway, he's going to need to make this top 10. And right now, so far,
yeah, his speed in qualifying is really duplicating, Clint, what he had in practice. It just didn't seem like that car had the initial fire-off speed. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, he'll be a little bit better on the longer run.
And it's not looking like it's going to happen.
9th for Harvick, 30.76. And that is 2/10 off of his best practice lap.
It's just kind of been their standard MO this year, starting from behind, and that's not typical Kevin Harvick, Rodney Childress, momentum rolling into a race.
All right, that'll lock Kyle Larson into the final round, and here is Tyler Reddick, 2nd fastest in this group with a 30.84.
Look at the momentum carried across the middle of the corner, Jamie.
Yeah, Reddick chose to run that kind of middle line that we talked about. Seemed like that's been the preferred line in qualifying at this track. We'll see the line he decides to do in 3 and 4, which is the exact same thing.
And you can see the ticker right at the top of the board. Awesome lap by Tyler Reddick.
He knocks out Denny Hamlin, 30.38, and he's into the final round.
So now everybody's going to look at that lap and try to figure out what do we got to do to adjust on our car to run that line, because apparently that's the fastest line right now.
1 spot remains. Best buddies, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott. One of them will advance. Only one.
Maybe not best buddies after this qualifying, right?
You see the 9 car rolling across the middle, really got to the gas, but I saw him lift. And then you see the 12 car, the Ghost car, starting to pull back ahead of him. This is going to be really close right here. He's going to have to figure something out in 3 and 4. Right now, the momentum is headed towards the 12 car.
Oh, he's coming back. Got a little bit of run on exit.
He almost gets there. And the difference is 2.5 hundredths of a second. Blaney will advance.
Blaney says sigh of relief.
So moving on to the final round to run for the Busch Light pole, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, and fastest Tyler Reddick. Here are the Fast 5 in Group A that will advance to the final round. 10 drivers will run for the pole, and the top 10 qualifying positions. They'll be joined by 5 drivers from Group B. In order of the matrix that includes last finish, last race fastest lap, and point standing position. First on track, Florida's B.J. McLeod in the 78. He did not get to qualify at Darlington. They had a rear gear issue they couldn't resolve in time, and then, boy, that car went up in flames. His car went up in flames during the race. Tough for a small team.
He was definitely ready to get out of Darlington. Wasn't good on him whatsoever. A lot of flames. That car seriously caught on fire.
Yeah, we saw that with a couple of cars. We saw it also with Alex Bowman, and I went down the garage and asked about that, and they said that the rocker panels obviously are carbon Kevlar, and it frayed, and that those strands like caught on fire, and once it started burning, obviously had to get an extinguisher to put it out. But we've seen that a couple of times this year.
Well, there was damage. There was damage on the right front, got that over into the header, and the result was definitely a fire underneath of it. Something, hey, growing pains with a new car, something we haven't seen. They'll make an adjustment of that, but definitely got everybody's attention.
McLeod's best lap in practice, 32:19. He bests that by a tenth. Jamie?
Well, they said good lap there, little buddy. To Tyler Reddick, did you hit all your marks there in that lap?
I hit more of them than I missed, so it was still a pretty good lap. Yeah, we're really happy with the balance of our BetMGM Chevrolet in that Group A, but it was pretty obvious the cars that were a little bit tighter taking off put down a pretty good lap to start. So thankfully we hit it pretty close on the balance, maybe a little bit too tight. So we're gonna see what the track continues to do here. Is, you know, it feels like it hasn't really cooled off yet, but they're starting to get some shade across the track. So we'll just try and hit the balance offset right, going from you know, this first round on brand new tires to scuffs in the second round.
Thanks, Tyler. Mike?
Corey LaJoie finishing up here, 30-74 for LaJoie, and that is a pickup of almost 3/4 of a second.
Good pickup. We heard Jamie Little say, good lap, little buddy. Randall Burdett, the crew chief for Tyler Reddick, was my engineer years ago, and he always called me little buddy too, and I always took it personal, but I feel like Tyler and I are both about 5 foot tall, so maybe we had it coming, Mike.
Okay. JJ Yaley, 31:51 in practice. And he picks up half a second.
He paid tribute to you last week, didn't he?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
And you got Richard Petty to call you out live on TV.
What's that?
You got the King to call you out live on TV when they were lapping you.
No, that was, I think it was Bill Elliott.
Oh.
Get your King track.
Either way, gotcha.
Cole Custer will be the fourth driver out in Group B. Custer 31:20 in practice. And it looks like he's going to edge Corey LaJoie for quickest out of the four so far, and does, 30:67.
And that's about a tenth and a half off of what it took to make it into the first round. So it'll be interesting to see if that is going to hang on to make it to this final round of qualifying. Oh, this would be good, Clint. This guy was fast in practice.
Kurt Busch 30:75 in practice, riding with our Monster Energy can.
Well, you heard him just barely let out of the gas and started working the throttle back down.
Committed,
really good.
very committed lap. Drove that thing off into the corner, never even cracked all the way out of the gas. Pretty much exactly.
Oh, man. Tight right there in 3 and 4, but it's still going to be a decent lap for him.
Decent.
Lost some momentum on the exit of 4, but it's going to be a good lap for Kurt Busch.
Just needs to be enough to make this final 5.
And that should, 30:35.
Yes, sir.
But that's actually better, Mike, than Reddick ran in the first round with a little bit of a hiccup down in turns 3 and 4.
So far, that's the fastest qualifying lap we've seen.
Fastest lap of the day in qualifying, Kurt Busch against Tyler Reddick at the top of the screen. Alex Bowman up next, 31.06 in practice for his Rick Hendrick Camaro.
He's hanging right with Kurt Busch through 1 and 2, which we thought was a great lap. It'd be interesting to see if he can actually have a better 3 and 4. We know Kurt struggled right there, Clint, where Kurt had to let out the throttle just a little bit. We'll see if Alex is able to hang on to it. It looks like he's going to be able to beat him back to the start-finish line.
And he does with a 30:34. Good pickup for Bowman.
Business picking up.
I mean, you'd almost want to say that it's cooling off, but it's not yet. You know, there's no shade on the track really anywhere except for on the front stretch.
Yeah, I don't think that that's enough. You know, the corners are obviously where the grips, you know, won and lost. And so far, I think it's pretty uniform all the way across the board. I think if there is an advantage whatsoever is going out later is you have some
Absolutely, get to see the data.
At, see what they're doing, where they're running. We saw Austin Dillon try that outside line. That's something that you put in the bank, right? You put in the back of your mind, I'm not going to do that. Where I'm at in the middle, the bottom, where they're struggling in 3 and 4, where everybody keeps getting tight and having to crack out of it. Those are all the adjustments that in your mind you're going to make for your lap.
Well, there's so many options here of what line do you want to run. I love what you said right there. We saw Austin Dillon run the top. You're like, I'm not going to do that. Obviously, his car was fast in practice, was not able to make it through the next round. We think that middle lane in 1 and 2 is going to be the best place to run.
Todd Gilliland picked up 4/10 from practice. Now here's Austin Cindric. He was 4th in this group. There's a big Menards store less than a mile from here. Went through there this morning, and they do a great job of promoting their NASCAR involvement in store. Yes. I think better than any other retailer does.
I tell you
today.
what they do a good job of, and there was one over at Lake of the Ozarks where I spend a lot of time in the summertime. They do a good job of having everything you need, it seems like. When I go in there, man, I'm telling you, I leave with a whole basket full, and I went in there for a light bulb.
He was like a kid in the candy store. He came over, he's like, "You've been to this Menards over here?" He's so excited.
It is awesome. All right, Austin Cindric, the rookie, 30-50. We'll see if that holds up to make it into the final round. All right, Chase Briscoe will be our next qualifier in a Ford for Stuart Haas. He ran a 30.98, and that's the bubble car. Currently, Corey LaJoie as our ghost car.
Yeah, you see Rush Truck Centers and Cummins engines on the side of that car. Recently purchased some new stores around this Kansas City area. I know old Rusty was pretty excited about that and being here in Kansas.
Briscoe, 30.53. That bumps Corey LaJoie and moves the 14 into 4th place. Ty Dillon, Ross Chastain next, then Michael McDowell, Eric Almirola. Out next for Petty, GMS Motorsports. Dillon had a 31.29 in practice.
This year in his 42 car. He really has stepped up to the plate and made a lot of noise at the Coliseum.
Yes, he did. And on the dirt at Bristol.
What did you add? T-Tie?
Yeah, old Mike Dillon, his dad was always my spotter, always called him T-Tie.
There you go. Yeah. T-Tie's looking pretty good right now.
Exactly what I was saying. Backing up, stepped up to the plate and had some good runs. Made a lot of noise at the Coliseum.
Yes, he did. And on the dirt at Bristol.
What did you call him?
T-Tie, his dad.
T-Tie?
Yeah, old Mike Dillon, his dad was always my spotter, always called him T-Tie. So I'm calling him T-Tie.
There you go. Yeah. T-Tie's looking pretty good right now.
Exactly what I was saying. Yeah. Backing up my words. Appreciate that, Ty Dillon.
Yeah. Now T-Tie's not looking so good on the exit of 4.
It's going to be
still
close.
Got the point. I like how he got that car arc, the big arc getting into 3, got it now. Needed to get to the bottom, and look at that difference. That's pretty cool to see the difference in the line off of 4 and how low he ran.
Shorter
if
distance.
he was a little bit lower, he would have been in this show so far.
Missed it by 16 1/1000ths of a second.
And it was all off of turn 4 to the line.
Ross Chastain, 30.85 in practice, 2nd in Group B.
Heard Ross, he actually lifted all the way out of the gas just for a second and then got back to the gas a little bit quicker, it sounded like, than Kurt Busch. Looks like he generated a pretty good run down the backstretch.
You could see it right dead in the middle of 1 and 2. That car was just pointed so much better than Cole Custer in the 41.
Yeah,
same way here. You see that how it's pointed and not headed north to the wall. Never had to lift, never had to choke up out of the gas. In the show so far.
30.51. He is in, bumping Cole Custer. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch was fastest in practice, 2nd on the board right now. Well, thank you. I got an umbrella boy.
You know what?
Any complaints?
Umbrellas were invented to keep the sun away from you, not the rain.
I bet Mike Joy knew that.
And we've got style points back at the shop and here at the track with Jordan Brand. What a lot of fun it is to team up with team owner and with Denny's vision for this team and to carry the logo. It really gives you that heart from MJ, and everybody's pulling hard right now. Hard unloaded fast. Right now we're in that groove, and we just need to find the last little tweak to see if we've got a shot at the pole today, but Toyota Camry's fast right now.
All right, we'll see if he can do it.
Michael McDowell on track trying to bump Briscoe, and 30.89 will not do it.
I can tell you this much, as a race car driver and any kid, anybody in America, when they announced that paint scheme this weekend, boy, I was a little bit jealous, man. That is an awesome brand, an awesome logo. We're very fortunate to have Michael Jordan and his brand being a part of this sport.
So Alex Bowman is now locked into the final round. There is a good look at that graphic scheme.
Did you say black cement? Is that what we said?
Black cement, yes.
Black cement, yeah.
Cool, iconic scheme that he's had. He's got his fish boats like that too. He's got a Viking sport fish that's done up with that black cement scheme. It's awesome.
Stuart Haas teammates battling here. Briscoe on the bump spot. And Eric Almirola third fastest with a 30.45. That will bump Chase Briscoe. And it will lock Kurt Busch into the final round. Here is Justin Haley, whose car had inspection issues earlier today, as did Joey Logano's. Haley 31.27 in practice.
He had to find something down here in 3 and 4.
Ross Chastain, the ghost car, on the bubble, 30.51.
It just seems like running that little bit higher line, Clint, in 3 and 4. You don't see the guys get as tight and have to check up. And if they can maintain through the middle, they typically have a better run on the exit.
Yeah, in my opinion, he looked a little bit tight off of 2. If you're tight off of 2 and you go off in the bottom of 3 and 4, you're going to be tight.
I'm going to run the middle of 3 and 4 if I'm tight off 2 for sure.
And I think that's exactly what Chastain did. I'm sorry, Mike.
Haley misses by a 10th, and that locks in Almirola. So here is William Byron trying to join teammate Alex Bowman up near the top.
But you see that point. You keep obviously hearing me talk about that in 1 and 2. He had to lift out of the gas a little bit, couldn't carry the momentum. That one car was pointed a little bit better. Same as here. This 24 is a little bit tied from center out, and it's going to pay the price and not be able to make this final 10.
Chastain holds on to 5th. Byron is 7th. So Chastain still on the bump spot. That will lock Austin Cindric into the final round, and it comes down to Ross Chastain versus Christopher Bell.
This is going to make Ross Chastain nervous. Christopher Bell was extremely fast in practice. You see a good run coming to the green. Can he get through 1 and 2? Oof.
The answer is yes. He can get through 1 and 2. Got a really good turns 1 and 2 going. Like, he's not working on the bubble. He's working on being the fastest car in this round.
He was second.
Went to the outside, made an adjustment.
Top of the chart again, Christopher Bell.
Guys, he was good all the way around. He was off the throttle so little in 3 and 4, it almost is not even believable. He was out of it, picked it right back up, and never had to backpedal.
Well, he's the fastest, too, because of it. Anytime you can leave that throttle down more than everybody else, you're going to come around there, and the stopwatch is going to like it.
So moving on to the final round, rookie Austin Cindric. Veteran Eric Almirola. Past champion Kurt Busch. Alex Bowman. And Christopher Bell, fastest. Four Toyotas, 3 Fords, and 3 Chevrolets are about to run for the pole here in Kansas. Let's take some of the fastest, the 3 fastest, and compare their lines on the racetrack.
Yeah, as you see, as they go down into 1 and 2, Clint, they all basically ran the same line. Christopher Bell, a little bit quicker through the middle. You see he's on the throttle.
A little bit. And watch the difference. I mean, he never checked up and just kept gaining on him.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me, though, that he decided to run high in 3 and 4, because This, based on what we saw overall lap time, is going to get everybody down there to thinking, like, what line do I need to run? But I don't really know that he gained much there. It almost seemed to me like a little bit on exit, but it's a long ways around the top.
It was definitely a little bit on exit. There's no question I see that there, but I think all the gain was just rolling through the middle, never checking out of the gas in 1 and 2. It'll be interesting. I guarantee you everyone down there is looking at that SMT data in that wheel, you know, behind that car and trying to make their mind up, hey, was that juice worth the squeeze running out outside line like that?
Yeah, what I saw there was Bell had tremendous mid-corner speed, especially down in 1 and 2, and he was the only one of the 3 to finish his run up on the banking on the racetrack instead of cutting it short down on the apron. Final round coming up. Here they are. Who's your pick?
NASCAR.
Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. Getting ready for the final round of qualifying. 10 cars to run for the pole. Who do you like?
Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick. I think if he looked at what Christopher Bell just did, there is nobody in the field better at running high. And we know that Austin Dillon did that, but he backed the corner up. Christopher Bell didn't really have to lift off the throttle. I think if Tyler Reddick sees all that, I think he's our guy.
Christopher Bell, that's my pick.
Well, way to take the low-hanging fruit.
No.
My Lord, of course you're going to pick him.
No, you know that I wrote that down after practice. I liked his speed in his race car. Obviously, the Gibbs guys all showed up with some speed, but I just thought that 20 car looked really good. I liked the way he rolled through the middle of the corner with the momentum, and it proved to be true in qualifying so far.
Mike, he's writing stuff down on paper that no one else has seen.
Okay.
Hey, Bale is not low-hanging fruit. That's fruit that's picked in the basket, sliced up, ready to eat. I mean, the man's 3/10 faster than the field.
I know, Larry. Of course Clint's going to take Christopher Bell. We're all shocked.
Jamie, he did let you pick first.
He did.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
Way to defend you, Mike.
You know, these guests are getting
Good Lord.
It's a game of numbers, Jamie. He's here every week.
I understand.
All right, there you
But
go.
here's what I like about this final 10. Trying to figure out, is this going to be a faster lap? Are we going to see something faster than an 07, or is it going to fall off? You're going to have to manage that. You're going to have to back the corner up. All eyes are on this first car out. And I already see an adjustment with Ryan Blaney because of probably the fact of what he felt going through 3 and 4. Ran a little bit higher in the corner. Maybe it'll pay dividends.
I don't know how they back up what Christopher Bell ran. His lap in round 1 was faster than the last 2 poles at this racetrack.
Well, I do. You make an adjustment. You go back, you study the data, you watch what he did and try to be better with that. Maybe make an air pressure adjustment. But again, it goes back to the fall off. Will it pick up or fall off more?
Well, Mike, the anticipation of that time popping up is killing me right now.
It'll be here any day now.
For whatever
like
reason,
waiting for them to bring the
folks,
gate
we don't
up to
have
where
a
it's
time, an
supposed to
official time for Blaney.
All right, that'll come along as Kyle Larson takes to the track. And we are not receiving.
Well, I tell you what we're receiving is, again, another guy making an adjustment, watching, learning from that 20 car.
Here,
yes, we have the ghost car working, and Kyle Larson went even higher yet in 1 and 2, carrying a lot of speed down the back straightaway.
30.61 for Ryan Blaney is what the SMT data is showing. Thank you, Larry.
So that's slightly slower than Blaney ran in the first round, and I think that's probably why we saw him run a little bit higher.
And obviously you saw the 5 of Kyle Larson faster than him on the Ghost.
Kyle Busch will be the 3rd driver out.
So all these guys are doing the same thing, Clint. All of them are starting to run high. The grip level must seem significantly lower as they go through turns 3 and 4, and that adjustment they make is to move up, not have to put as much wheel in it, and knowing that there's probably a little more grip up around the top, even though it's farther around.
30.20 unofficially for the 5 of Kyle Larson.
Which his was a pickup. His was definitely a pickup, but it was still off from the fastest 07. And you saw the 18 behind him. Sorry, folks, this is a first for me, but we're here in 30.34.
30.340 for Kyle Busch. He is second. Larson, 30.206 is first. Blaney, 30.618 is third.
Yeah.
Martin Truex.
But this will be interesting to see how much momentum Kyle Larson has on the exit of turn 2. Truex chose to run the bottom, but Clint, it actually looked like Kyle carried more speed through the middle of the corner, even though he was higher on the track.
I think that's a cycle in these tires. I think they're cycling. They knew they were probably going to be a little bit tighter, made that adjustment, moved to the outside where they could carry more momentum, more on throttle time, and it's paying dividends, as you can see with Martin Truex on the bottom versus the 5 car.
Truex is 4th, 30.618, and thanks Racing Insights for providing these times as we've got an apparent glitch in getting that information to our scoring system. So Larson, Busch, Truex, Blaney, that is correct on the pylon right now as Tyler Reddick.
Reddick is as high, if not higher, than Larson was right there. Looks like he's exiting just a little bit lower, but Clint, he carried a ton of speed through 1 and 2 on down the backstretch.
Sure did. Just didn't check up near as much, a little bit more on throttle time all the way through. Looks to be doing the same thing, a little bit higher, more committed to that outside line.
5th time in the final round this year for Reddick.
Barely beat him.
30.192, 178.8. 5 down, 5 to go. Tyler Reddick tops. We are halfway through final round qualifying in Kansas. Tyler Reddick fastest. Here's Jamie.
Well, Clint Boyer-ism. He was high, wide, and handsome, and it was fast. Did you get it all that time?
I didn't. No, I was just talking to Kyle about it. I drove into 3, and any car you ever drive here, you can't really drive it flat across 3 and 4, especially that high. And I'm just so used to it getting a little tight right, you know, at landing into 3. And so I just lifted a little bit too much. And as soon as I got there, I was like kind of hating myself for lifting as much as I did. I could have ran a little bit faster lap through 3 and 4. But all in all, BetMGM Chevrolet's great. Car's been really stable, allowing me to go out there and attack it. So we'll see what happens.
We'll sit and wait and see if he gets the pole here for the first time in Kansas.
Fastest so far is Tyler Reddick.
We need you to give him a pep talk.
Let's see if Austin Cindric
a little.
Let's see if Austin Cindric. He was obviously up in the booth for the ARCA race just a little bit ago. Nobody's watched as many laps as he has today. Maybe he could find that little bit of speed that Tyler Reddick was talking about right here in 3 and 4.
30.50 in the first round for Cindric. Looks like this could be quicker. It is by a quarter second. 30.26.
I absolutely love the challenge of the tires giving up and the fact that you had to completely change the line from the first round of qualifying to the second round, and all these guys adapting to that and then beating themselves up afterwards for maybe not driving quite hard enough.
Yeah, Tyler, the only thing I can say about Tyler's interview is you can't say that. These guys could be listening.
I know.
They got to go out there and know that there was a little bit left in 3. Maybe they can find that, but still, look at the speed that Reddick found through 1 and 2, running right up against the wall. And I think that's where all the speed was gained, and they're just not going to catch him because of that.
And we all have different commitment levels, and Tyler's not so committed might be somebody else who's really committed, because clearly you can see by the gap that he has on Amarola right here getting the start-finish line that he did get through turns 3 and 4 really well.
Now, Almirola picked up a 10th from round 1, but it leaves him 5th right now.
Hey, made it final 10. You know, when I say these final 10, go for it, make some adjustments, and see what's out there, because the worst you're going to do is 10th, which is a good starting spot for a track like this.
Yeah, and Kurt's got his umbrella put away, Clint, and he is ready, running the top.
But he did not commit quite as good as that 8 car did on the entrance of the corner, and through the middle, he wasn't pointed as good. Didn't carry the momentum off of 2.
It's so hard to commit to entering as high as what Tyler Reddick did, so that you're able to pick the throttle up and go through the middle the way that he did. You see Kurt's almost got his left sides on that seam, and that little bit 3-4 feet that you see there is quite a bit of difference in grip level.
Now he picks up almost a 10th. Kurt Busch is 4th.
Shucks.
And you can see the frustration right there. Knew it. He knew when he got out there and finished his lap, man. Just needed a little bit more.
So then there were 2. And here's Alex Bowman. 30.45, and it's his first lap.
Right there, you see the commitment level of getting into the corner and how he was able to carry the speed and the point off of 2, and all of the magic is all done there.
Yeah, and honestly, like when you see Reddick, he actually came to the green even from the start-finish line to turn one. We talk about how important that is. He actually came to the green faster than a lot of these guys have, including Alex Bowman right here. I don't think Tyler realizes quite how good his lap was.
30-41 for Bowman, sits him 7th. The final qualifier, Christopher Bell. It's his 8th final round appearance of the year in qualifying. That's the most of all drivers. And if he can back up what he ran in round 1, he'll be on the pole.
And I think it's all going to start right here in 1 and 2. Here it is. Let's get on our feet. Oh,
he opted to run a little bit lower.
In the middle. Obviously scores through the center a little bit faster, and man, stayed with it.
Be interesting to see if he does exactly what he did in the last round, running high in 3 and 4. He tried to run a little bit lower.
Well, he left his foot in it getting in. Can he get through the middle of the corner and keep from lifting out of the gas? He can.
Good lap by Christopher Bell.
Who did I pick?
Game over. Christopher Bell does back it up. 30.07.
On the dot, too, by the way. Ran an 07 the first lap, 07 the second lap. Congratulations. 20 car. Christopher Bell is your pole winner.
3rd career pole in his 85th Cup Series start. He won the pole at Talladega. All 3 poles coming this season.
Mike, I get the feeling that Clint's one of those I told you so's guys.
Well, you know, like I said, the Gibbs cars after practice impressed me. I really like the parity that I see, not only in this top 10, but all the way through the board for qualifying. I think it's anybody's game still yet to come for tomorrow's race on Sunday.
I like how we've got 4 different organizations. You see Joe Gibbs on the pole, RCR second, Hendrick Motorsports third. You got Team Penske in 4th, and then 2311 in 5th. It's a wide range of organizations here, and it doesn't seem like one has an advantage.
And seeing some left rear problems in practice and things like that. Does that have these teams concerned? It'd be interesting if they make some adjustments there, opt to go to the back. A lot of moving pieces going into tomorrow's race here at Kansas Speedway.
Christopher Bell has all 3 of Joe Gibbs Racing's poles this year.
Well, he earned the one today, Clint. That's so cool to see him adjust his line. Chose to run a little bit lower in 1 and 2 than what we saw Reddick after all those guys were the fastest around the top.
Utilizing that background, that dirt background, move around, find the grip. Jamie?
Christopher Bell, been one that so many people have been watching lately, and this is the 3rd pole for this team. How are you guys able to keep knocking these out, the consistency as we go to these new tracks for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, these guys are just doing a really good job on this 20 car, and they have been all year long. So really, really proud of the effort. We got an excellent Ream Camry here this weekend, so hopefully we can keep it up tomorrow.
Good job. Congratulations.
3rd pole of the season for Christopher Bell, and 3rd pole for Joe Gibbs Racing at Kansas. Toyota Chevy front row, Tyler Reddick on the outside by a 10th and a little more. Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric, Chevy Ford 2nd row. It's the Busch brothers in row 3.
Alec Amarella leading the Stuart Haas camp up there in the top 10. William Byron, Chase Elliott, teammates, the Hendrick boys, gonna have to come from the back a little bit. Ross Chastain struggled a little bit for the speed that he's had this year.
Yeah, what about Corey LaJoie, top 20? That's a great run for Spire.
Yeah. You see the one that comes out to me is Kevin Harvick, kind of the steady Eddie. You know he's going to grind it out, find his way to that top 10 just like he has all season long. But man, going to have to figure something out in qualifying.
And at the back, drivers who did not qualify due to practice crashes, Logano, Buescher, and Stenhouse.
Yes, hero to zero, winning last week. Joey Logano coming from the back with a left rear tire flat, got into the wall. Buescher and Stenhouse.
One thing those guys will get to do, though, is make an adjustment if they want to the camber that might actually create survival for the race tomorrow.
Christopher Bell, 2 laps within 100th of a second of each other, secures the pole for tomorrow's AdventHealth 400. Race day tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern Time, followed by the race. Coming up next on FS1, race day and the Truck Series race at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight.